Night Terrors to Harley Quinn #2. This is a tie-in that it does something, like I said, like Jeremy Adams did. But it does it in the wrong way, and it's just a mess. But it's Tini Howard. It's written by Tini Howard, art by Hayden Sherman, colors by Triona Farrell, letters by Steve Wands. I don't know what Tini Howard has with this multiversal stuff. I mean, at this moment, when you get out of, say, death metal, all that, like multiversal stuff, we kind of need to settle down anyway. But yet she ends up doing that with Harley. With a Harley book, to me, you can do wacky stuff, and it usually won't be anybody saying, oh, what about continuity and things like that. But then you don't have to throw multiversal shit in, which she's doing in the regular run, because it's terrible. Then she goes into this, and she's playing this weird play that Harley was too smart to get taken over by the Nightmare Wave, which doesn't make sense. Then she's in the multiverse. Then it's a computer deal. She's playing off the idea of a speed run and a cheat code, all that to get to this issue where it's just nothing. It feels like random thoughts just thrown on a page just for shits and giggles. And let's just kind of crunch them all together. And nothing in this works for me at all. Even the overall tone of Harley saying, oh, there's worlds where I'm considered, like almost like she's trying to be meta with people getting upset that she might be part of the Bat family or the thing. But she's playing it the opposite way. It actually almost convinces me that, yeah, Harley shouldn't be anything like that. Then she gets everything. Everything's wrong. It's so bad. It drove me nuts. And I'm telling you, there is a backup in this, and I'll let you go one sentence with that when we get to it, because I couldn't even take it. I ended up bailing.
I'm not quite there yet. I'm close to. Can we have Stephanie Phillips back? I mean, please. Can we? This is. It pains me to even say that out loud because
if people don't understand, Stephanie Phillips hates us. She ended up getting in a fight with Gabe, then a fight with me, blocked us, had people talking shit left and right, just throwing jabs at us because of her. Ended up Jeff Lemire ended up blocking us. He unfollowed and blocked us because of it. I blame you, Gabe. You're sus.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
So all that was just because, you ended up saying in an issue that seemed to be a very much a filler issue. It didn't seem to be taking much, that they may not have put their most, best foot forward in effort-wise. She flipped out. I want her back because Tini Howard is worse. How could she be worse? And this just shows you the landscape of Harley books. Harley is a character that I do like. A lot of people don't. I do like her. I don't even mind her trying to be a hero. And I said a year and a half ago that they need to put Harley away for a bunch of years so that people want her back, not just put shit like this out to make it more and more of the case where people can argue with me and say, Harley's bullshit. I can't argue back. I can't say that she isn't because of what they're getting. And I said when we go through even the regular issues, a lot of these writers, they try to Harley it up too much. They lose track of a story because it's all about not even gags, but, oh, Harley has to be like that. And that's what this whole fucking thing is. It's just Harley running around being an idiot.
Yeah, for all the controversy around it, Stephanie Phillips' run was mostly terrible, but it was terrible, but at least it was Harley within the context of Gotham and her trying to figure out who she is and what she's trying to do, and at least it was kind of self-contained. She was in a corner. You could kind of keep control of it. Sort of like a bad dog that needs to sit in a corner for making a mess. I get that. So you come to Tini Howard, and Tini Howard is leaning all in on the HBO Max cartoon, all these big wacky hijinks, and now she's leaning all in on the multiverse when it doesn't even make sense. I mean, I think there was some justification about that. She got touched by the Lazarus Rain, and now she has the ability to touch through the something like it was never really even explained.
It's because she's even just crazy, and it doesn't make sense. I'll tell you right now, with this multiverse stuff, Grant Morrison, he's not dead. He's still rolling over in his grave. That's how bad this is. That's how bad. He has to be nuts about this bullshit and how she's going through the multiversity book, which doesn't even make sense now because after Death Metal, we have an omniverse. We have an infinite Earth, not this bullshit. So it doesn't even make. She doesn't know what she's writing.
One of the first things that you notice is this tie-in is the least tie-in to Night Terrors. I mean, the nightmare aspect was pretty much gotten rid of in the first issue, like in the first couple pages. So this has, it not only has nothing to do with night terrors, it has nothing to do with, it doesn't even know that night terrors is happening. It's just out there in the universe. And so what it's doing is it's pulling in the main story from Tini Howard's run with Madam Quark, who said, look, you're breaking the multiverse by going in and out when you're not supposed to. And if you keep doing it, I'm going to wipe out your universe and Earth and everybody in it. And Harley's all freaked out and afraid about that. This is just a continuation of that with night terrors slapped on the cover. It doesn't even have anything to do with anything.
It doesn't. And so when she's trying to push this multiversal thing, the idea, like you said, you can't mess with the multiverse. Lady Quark's going to be mad. So what she ends up doing is messing with the multiverse to just have at the end for Lady Quark, well, you're kind of good and I might need you later. I'm like, bullshit. Plus, when you get into this world, you go to all, a golden age type deal where she ends up, she looks like Rosemary from the Dick Van Dyke Show. Nobody's even going to get that, but it's like, who was that, right? And I'm like, look at her. And so she's doing this, but now we are going to spend a large amount of time talking about how there's thought bubbles. Oh, thought bubbles. Oh, my God, thought bubbles. And we don't have thought bubbles where I am. Thought bubbles. And, okay, that could be a funny one-panel joke, not a whole issue. And then even at a point where she's like, oh, man, I can't get rid of these. They're like being followed by a fart, only not funny. Those are the jokes here. This is the problem, is Tini Howard, in my mind.
Tini Howard is not funny.
She's not funny. She is not funny. And I'll give you, here's where, when I read this, this is shade. This is multi-company shade. I had a less fun in this almost as the Alyssa Wong Deadpool. Both books not funny that you could be funny and you just can't do it. So you end up with Tini Howard just same jokes that never hit, not funny. Having her go through this world where there's a brainiac that she thinks shrinks brains and all this nonsense and get this idyllic world with Pam that then, and the art, like I said, I laughed that it looks like Rosemary, but the actual art with the Ben-Day dolls, it really looks like it's like an old comic. I give that props. But when you're just there, all you're going to go into and what you're trying to do is, oh, man, back in the golden age, ladies never got the opportunity to do anything. But you're not even doing that right because Harley's the big hero of the universe. So why couldn't this have been where she wants to be the hero? And at this point, she's not allowed, you could play with the idea of her being the secretary of the Justice League like Wonder Woman. You could play a lot of things here, and they don't. But you try to do it through Pam, but then it's too late. It doesn't make sense. And she's cursing.
Tini Howard's just mixing in so many ideas in
so
here.
So many things, yeah.
That just, but so there's no focus. There's no direction of what you're trying to play. First, you get this whole thing about the thought balloons, and that's a debate that goes on among comic book writers. That unless you're a comic book writer or at least pay attention to what's going on, nobody's going to understand what you're talking about. So if you just pick this up and what's the big deal about thought balloons? I mean,
by the way, I love thought balloons.
I
actually
do too.
wish we had more thought balloons.
And actually, more writers use them these days than not, in the sense that sometimes they'll just put the thoughts in narration boxes instead of a word balloon.
That's the deal.
But it's the same. It's the same thing. It's just.
I do believe that I read an article with maybe Kurt Busiek, who ended up and he was writing a script and he had a thought bubble in it, and basically that was looked at as if you do that, you're a hack. And I'm like, I don't think so. I like it. I actually like them. I like how it is, but in this, she's almost like, I can't take, these are just your thoughts, but she's making it seem like with the thought bubbles, they end up where they take a mind of their own and end up attacked. She's like, I can't take this. Oh my God. I'm like, no.
Yeah. In this context, the thought balloon is no different than an inner monologue, which we see all the time.
It is. Yeah.
It's the same thing. So then now you're trying to make a joke out of something that nobody's going to get. Yeah. That's the first problem.
Or
care about. The second problem is you're kind of wrapping this whole thing around of what does Harley eventually come to conclude, which is, she's got all this. You have to be good to be a hero is where she gets out of that, and she's not good, so she can't be a hero. Well, okay. Well, welcome to the last 10 years of Harley stuff, because that's what everybody's been telling DC for all along. Somehow Tini comes to that same conclusion, but the way she eventually resolves it is Madam Quark's like, well, this was all a test that I constructed because I thought you were too dangerous, right? That's all coming out of the main run. Again, nothing to do with night terrors. And then when she presents this option saying, yep, you passed the test and you've demonstrated to me that you are truly dangerous, instead of saying, okay, you're dangerous, so I'm going to wipe you out, which is what she promised to do in the beginning, she says, oh, well, you are dangerous, but you're also powerful, so now I'm going to put you in a hero role.
Yeah,
So
I might get back to you. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And this is what I was going to say. Like you said, she comes to the conclusion that a lot of people have come to. You can't have Harley be a hero. The problem is that I think Tini Howard is taking it the wrong way. And what I like, and I said it earlier, I like Harley. And what I like about Harley is I like when she tries to be a hero. She can't get past herself. She always messes up. And a lot of people don't like the Palmiotti Connor run. But there were points of that had it where she really thought, oh, I can be a hero. But when she goes and does it, she kills 3 people to get there. She does this. And I like that. So what I think Tini Howard is doing is saying here, hey, get this, everybody. Harley can maybe be a hero, but it's going to be her type. That's all. That it's been what it is. Like you said, she ends up almost coming to the conclusion of people in the negative way, but she's now twisting it because she has a book, and we're going to go forward with it with the, oh, get this, Harley, she's her own type of bullshit. We know this. And so by the end, after all this hodgepodge, Brainiac just showing up and saying, I'm going to grab your brain and shrink it. I'm like, and this is the problem. When you have a Harley book, you can do a lot of wacky things and just say, oh, well, it's Harley, right? You can even go with the unreliable narrator, but you can also go with Harley's crazy. It's like the Joker. You don't know what's real or what. Then you mix that into the multiverse. Then you mix that into a nightmare that should have been had. You could do whatever the fuck you want. So anybody who would say, what the hell is that? I think Tini Howard would say, oh, well, it's just, it doesn't matter. It ends up being a nightmare. It ends up being a multiverse. It's too much. You have to watch it. I mean,
doesn't matter.
You have to make sure with Harley, there has to be some grounding.
Well,
That's what
you're
Kevin was.
right.
That's what Kevin was in the Stephanie Phillips deal in my mind, but there's no ground here.
This was Howard's opportunity to go completely, just do something completely different. To say, I'm going to take Harley and go in direction X or Y. And if it didn't work out, you could just say, well, it was all part of the multiverse dream.
Part of the
Elseworlds of the thing. But because she leaned right back into the main title, she took away that opportunity from herself. And it's like, why would you do that?
She gets it's Tini is like Harley gets in her own way, because really the idea of this could have just been more straightforward, but also better. But the idea that Harley goes into a nightmare, don't play this nonsense, because you can still have the nightmare be being afraid of Lady Quark in the multiverse, right? You can still have what you have here, but don't make it that she was too good to be involved in this thing where Batman, Superman, all the rest are involved. But in this, you could have just went a lot more straightforward of the idea that Harley's biggest fear or nightmare, which you kind of get in this, is being a hero, like actually being a hero, because that's not quite her. Do it in a better way. Do it in a way that makes sense, that you're actually delving into the character more than most people. Because even Stephanie Phillips at one point, I thought, oh my God, she's actually doing what I like. Like, let's get into what Harley is. Yeah. Is she the therapist? Is she the crazy sidekick of Joker, lover, all that? And, that split deal. But in this, she's just like, let's throw everything in, hodgepodge, scroll it all together, because her run, I said it doesn't have any grounding. It doesn't have anything. Things happen like Two-Face, who's having a prank war. He gets arrested, but he's got lawyers because he's she even says in this, like, I'm not on probation. I'm like, oh, fuck yourself. I was so angry.
That's the number one problem with Harley right now. Forget about the time for a second. Just focus on the character as far as where she fits in the greater DC universe. DC just does not know what to do with her.
No, they don't. They don't.
You really only have two directions. She's either going to lean in and become the villain that I think that would be the better choice. I think that would be the more interesting choice for her to kind of use all her psychologist smarts and just her past trauma to just basically turn against Joker and everyone else that enables him to kind of like become the next Queenpin of Gotham. I think that would be a great choice for her.
Queenpin is what I call it.
Queenpin. There we go. Perfect. Even better. But they keep wanting to go in the opposite direction because she's popular. So she's popular. She has to be a hero, which is fine if you want to go in that direction. But you have to do the work. You have to figure out, because people won't accept her as a hero unless you put in the work to have her redeemed through some process. She has to go through that journey of being redeemed and becoming that hero, and they're not doing it. All she's doing is spinning around and acting wacky. in this,
that's
and just going around, and she's acting wacky and just going around in circles, and it just doesn't go anywhere, and people just getting tired of it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who are listening are like, Gabe's right. They want her villain. Gabe's sus.
Yeah, I am very sus. But I think that would be the better choice, honestly. But back to the prior point, this would have been the opportunity to say, you know what if we just, there was a hint of that in Future State, where she was using her psychological smarts to like turn the village against each other using their own like crazy neuroses, and you could see where you could expand that and do something. This would have been the opportunity to kind of put her in charge of Gotham, to kind of basically pay back Joker for all the years of mistreatment. Actually, you say that
these two issues, maybe you should have had somebody say to Tini, listen, go full evil. Go full evil with this, and see if people, and actually use it as a litmus test to see if people actually do, because people will yell that they want that, but are those people yelling going to actually buy a Harley book? And maybe you could use this as a test.
I'd bet that would go over well.
I'm telling you, you know what my storyline would be? My storyline would be that she kicked Joker to the curb. Why doesn't Batman? And I'd have her go after Batman because of the idea that the Joker just is allowed to keep doing what he does. And it must be just a slap in her face every single time. And even in this, they play out the idea that, oh, you're friends with Batman. Well, we had donuts together. Well, why isn't this come up? Why isn't the idea of why do you keep letting him do what he does? And even if it's not just being fully against Batman, it could be the idea of almost like a Red Hood situation where she's like, screw it, Batman won't do it. I'm going to do it myself and go to kill the Joker. And if Batman gets in my way, Bat Family, I'm going to have to take you down because this is what I need to do. And you never do it.
And I know this is way off track, but I'll go even further back from that. Remember when, what was it, Tinian, and it was when, it was like Gotham was burning, and there was a moment in there where Batman and Harley confronted each other, and Harley said
like
that
Joker War or whatnot.
Yeah, something. I think it was Joker War. She said, "I'm going to kill the Joker," and Batman's like, "No, I'm not going to let you." And they sort of like parted with that contention, to say, I bet it would have been interesting if there was like some kind of fight where either Harley killed Joker or almost killed Joker, or the other way around, where Joker killed her, like shot her in the head or something, and then it just snapped her. She's like, I'm done with this.
If she goes off to kill Joker and almost does it, then that gives you the, you're out of the Bat Family, and that's right now Eric will tell me all the time that she's fully part of the Bat Family. People don't want that. A lot of people don't accept it. What Harley fans want, again, isn't just a hero Harley. A lot of Harley fans just want good stories. They want Pam and her to be together, which you have here. And that's the only actually maybe good joke, is the refrigerator where you end up having Pam as a salad in the fridge. It's a wink, wink thing. I know that's Sully.
Yeah, that was silly.
Sully got a hold of me and said he loved it. He actually liked this issue. I ended up telling him, I said, Sully, I'm going to tell everybody. I'm going to tell everybody that you are endorsing a Tini Howard book. And he told me, no, don't do that. And I was laughing, but he thought that was hilarious.
Sully's inhaling too many kitchen fumes. I don't know.
It might be. He's cooking too much soup. But yeah, he liked it. It made me laugh. So I'm like, really? You really? But again, we're going through what this could have been or should have been or whatnot. But again, that's what you end up. And even earlier in the podcast, Rocky ends up saying that he hates script doctoring. And I said even then, I do it all the time. And sometimes I do it because it's so easy to see where things could have been. And I'm not saying that I'm a better writer or any kind of writer, but when you're doing this, somebody has to get a hold. I blame editorial as well going through this and like, okay, we got to tighten this up. We have to do this. Why don't you focus on that? But in an event like this, they were just told to do what the hell they want. It's hard to really criticize. It's just a hodgepodge of bullshit is what it is. And at the end, like you said, all it ends up doing is now Lady Quark says, okay, you're powerful and I might need you to be on a team with me, which then makes it the bullshit where people said, I don't want to get involved in this Night Terrors, but there are Harley Quinn. Now these have to be read or at least noted. It's nonsense. But then we have a backup. Leah Williams. I mean, this is the dangerous duo here. When you get Tini Howard and Leah Williams on one book, holy moly. But this backup, I'm telling you, I ended up starting to read it. I'm like, I'm not doing it. We didn't talk about it the first time, I think, and I bailed. But
I read through briefly. Basically, what it is it's Harley confronting the older version of herself from an alternate universe. It's basically picking up, I think, on the last one or two issues from Stephanie Phillips' run, where they had that whole bit where it was the Harley who laughs and all the different Harleys coming together and the mermaid Harley and doing all this stuff. And she was just confronting herself and talking about, how things could have gone right and how they could have gone wrong.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly. It's a waste of paper. There's absolutely no reason to read that thing. All it does is lean into
0.0.
Exactly. There's no reason to read it. It gives you nothing. It has nothing to do with the main story. It's harkening back to Stephanie Phillips' run, which wasn't great in the first place. And it's all it's doing is saying, "Hey, Harley, you better watch out. Are you going to turn out like me?" Who cares?
Yeah,
who cares?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And
because that older version of Harley, who's like scarred and everything else, is coming from a universe where Earth has devolved into this Mad Max post-apocalyptic type of scenario, which is not happening on Earth. It doesn't.
It is so funny, and
it's a waste of space.
You reminded me because again, where we've already had so much multiversal stuff, and I kind of want to get away from that anyway. I even forgot that Stephanie Phillips ended her run with the multiverse story, and then you go into Tini Howard instead of doing something original, doing something new or fresh. She just goes multiverse as if that's the only thing she ever read. Those last 4 issues of Harley by Stephanie Phillips. And when you go through this, I mean, the Brainiac, I keep saying, what are you doing with it? But again, you're going to get the play of, oh, that's a multiverse, or that's this, or that's a dream, or whatnot. Even at the end, you kind of get that. Was this a dream? Was it a simulation? Oh, and then she blows up the whole thing, and that was you passed the test, this nonsense, and then that backup bullshit. But what would you give this?
Oh boy, this one I gave a 4.5. And I think the only reason I gave it a little bit more than the Titans book is because the Titans book was just tried to do the thing and just messed it up completely. This is messed up, but at least it's messed up that's consistent with the rest of the run. So I gave her a little bit more credit. I gave her 4.5.
I would be remiss if I didn't say that you did end up giving Predator #1 and 9. I had to say that for sure.
I'm never gonna live that down. I'm never gonna live that down.
I'm gonna go 3. Tini Howard's bad, and now from here, most people say, well, Tini Howard, screw her. I don't need to read the Harley book. A lot of people aren't. But now we're going to the Gotham War, where she is going to be part of the Batman Catwoman crossover. I don't get it. I don't know why they're going so heavy in on Tini Howard here, because she's not good. We even just had that Tales of the Titans Raven issue by her as well. You can't get away from her, and I want to get away from her.